Okay, guys, just here today with Fred Ogoti, and we're not going to talk about Fred's history because that's part of the deal. It's about a book, but we're going to start just talking. Let's just talk crap, mate. That's what we're best at.
Sweet.
So Fred's got up this system about saving money for kids, basically. I wish I'd have known about it when my kids were younger. But so, do you want to just run us through it, mate?
Now, I actually picked up for my wife. So we made a pact that once we have kids, we'll just start saving for the future just from the word go.
Yep.
So we worked out if you save up $100, which is $50 a week, $100 over 10 years, that's 24,000.
Yep.
That's just $100 a fortnight. Now imagine if you did that over 20 years.
Yeah.
So you just saved up for them till they're 20. You
Yep.
already have 48,000. So you already have a down payment for their house when they hit 20, just from saving $100 a fortnight.
Have you implemented this with your kids?
We have implemented that. Yeah.
Right.
You know?
And how old are your kids now?
I've got a 4-year-old and I've got a 1-year-old.
Wow.
And they'll have separate accounts. So when we get paid, it just goes to their account. It just goes to the account.
Do you know what? Bit of history about my kids. My kids are all grown up. My youngest is 26.
Yeah.
I did think about this sort of stuff as you do when you're becoming a parent.
Yeah.
But I had my first child in my first year of apprenticeship. I started my apprenticeship on like the 17th of January in 1993.
Yeah.
And Kyle was born on the 10th of February. So I was a dad, and we had
Pretty much young.
no money.
Yeah.
Then I had Luke, Luke.
Yeah.
Had him 2 years later, so I was a third year apprentice.
Yeah.
But all these things go through your head. And now that they're near 30, they're around their 30s, imagine it would have been a good kickstart for them, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So
And
good
it doesn't have to be $100.
No.
It could be $50. You do
Anything.
$50 a fortnight, that's $25 a week.
No interest. We're not even talking
No
about
interest.
Yeah.
And that would be compounding interest for over that time. So if we did say $50 a fortnight, that's 12 grand in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's 24,000 and plus that's missing the compound interest.
Yeah.
So it looks like small money, but over time it adds up.
Yeah.
Now I think a lot of people think about savings. They think, you know what? I'll start saving 3 grand every fortnight.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do that.
No.
I'll start saving 500. You're not gonna do that.
No, that's right.
Because as you grow, your life becomes more. You've got more responsibilities, and then you just, the more money you make, the more things you want.
Exactly.
Your lifestyle goes different. You want to do maintenance on the house. You want to do this. So saving is just a different thing.
Yep.
So the reason we came up with that was I was telling you a story about when I was studying IT back home. There was a student in America. So he built a Trojan horse system and put it in a keystroke on the bank. So every time the bank did a transaction, 50 cents went to an account. So he just picked up 50 cents and put it in an account. So he was just making bank over 7 years, and the bank didn't pick that up. So what happened was, one time when an auditor was doing, he just noticed that there's this account that money keeps being withdrawn, but they don't see any deposit that's coming in. It's just coming from somewhere. It's mysterious money coming from somewhere.
Yep.
So if this kid just deposited $100, just went over the counter and put $100, they probably would never notice that.
Yep.
And when they noticed that, so that's, can you imagine 50 cents? So it got me thinking, even when you do bank transaction, the banking system is very weird because if you do bank transaction, how many times do you look at your cents?
Yeah, probably, all these days, probably never.
Never. No one actually looks at cents, When you do a transaction, you never look how much cents you lost.
Yeah.
Now think if a bank just did 0.05 cents over the years in all the transactions that they've had. It's all human psychology and things like that. So it looks small money and then it just adds up. And I think that's where we came out to, like, you know what? Let's just start small. We might get better and then put more, but you just start putting something.
So this fella in America that you're talking about,
Yeah.
was he doing that illegally?
He was doing that illegally.
Okay.
So
I have heard of a few stories like that.
Yeah.
But that's and he
Because
got
back in
caught.
the days, Trojan horse was such a big thing,
Yep.
and so it's just something. It's like a code you put. So I did software development back at home, and it's just a code you put into a system, or we did like the way computers used to crash. You put a Trojan horse, and everything you do, it just replicates, and then your computer just goes mental. So it was just something like that.
Did you give it a go yourself?
I tried, but
we can edit this bit out.
No, I wouldn't have made a very good hacker.
Righto. So what we're here today for, Fred, I might sound a little bit silly.
That's all right.
But also possibly a little bit emotional because, and it's going to sound silly because lots of people read books all the time.
Yeah.
People read books weekly, monthly, whatever. I just turned 50 in October last year.
Yeah.
And I've never, ever read a book from front to back, ever in my life. And that's
No
a true
way.
story. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit. I had this book once by a guy by the name of Justin Herald.
Yeah.
You probably haven't heard of him, but he developed, and you're probably too young to know this brand, but there was a brand of clothing
How
called
young do you
Attitude.
think I am? What do you mean I'm too young to know? How young do you think I am?
Well, that's a compliment. So Attitude, have you heard of Attitude clothing?
No,
Right,
no.
it was probably, I don't know, maybe 80s, late 80s, early, I don't really, and sorry for all the stats because I'm not real good at that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was just basically a word written on a bit of paper that he took to a printer.
Yeah.
Now the background story of it, he come from a church family, you know, mum and dad church forever, and all his mates that he met through church and stuff, they'd all go to church every Sunday.
Yep.
And they got to the age where they, you know, oh God, we're going to church. And the organ player, this old lady from the church that played the organ, she didn't like them. She thought they were bad kids.
Yeah.
And so one day, she just looked at Justin, I think it was, or maybe the group of the four of them, and said, "You've got a bad attitude." And she said the word attitude like this.
Yeah.
And so he's gone out and he's wrote this attitude on a bit of paper, took it to a printer.
I think I've had that story.
Yeah.
I think I've had that story
Yep.
somewhere. Yeah.
So he had $50 to his name.
Yep.
He went to a print shop,
Yep.
got shirts probably like this,
Yep.
and said to the printer, "Can you put that on there?" Just handwritten word.
Yeah.
And went to the church the next week and sat down the front row like this.
Attitude.
Yeah, you know, rub it in her face.
Yeah.
And then they went out after that. They were walking around the streets. They must have been, I think the story was they went to the pub or something. So
Yeah.
they must have been old enough to go to the pub, or maybe they weren't, but they just were rebels. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But everywhere they went that day, everyone was saying, "Where'd you get your shirt from? Cool shirt." And that's how it all started. And that all started from a comment made from a church to a young bloke who was rubbing that comment into this lady, and it turned out to be a multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was crazy.
It's crazy.
But so that's the book I tried to read.
Yeah.
And I got probably, I don't know, maybe I got halfway through, I'm not sure. And because that story there, that grabbed me.
Yeah,
You know, I read the back of the book, $50 million business.
yeah.
I'm going, this would be great. But I got halfway through it and it ended up being more like a multi-level marketing, inspirational type thing.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, this is crap. 'Cause every second page was,
Yeah.
you can do it. You just got to focus on your goals. And I think, oh, that doesn't get me. So that's the closest I went to reading the book prior to this.
Yeah.
I worked with you,
Yeah.
and I heard you wrote a book. I thought, wow. And I'm the kind of guy I love hearing stories about people having a crack at something.
Yeah.
And succeeding and trying and losing and failing and all those sort of things. But I thought, shit. So I said, can I buy a copy?
Yeah.
Never read a book in my life. Why would I want to buy a copy?
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't just to support you.
No,
It
no.
was, well, maybe it was a little bit,
Yeah, a
but
little bit.
I had a go at it. And that was probably 10, 12 months ago, I think.
Yeah, it would be about, yeah.
Yep. So that's all right. I read a little bit. I think I was up to like chapter 7 after a few weeks. Because every time I'd see
remember
you.
every time you come out and out the gate there and you would say, oh, I'm still reading it. I'll think, oh, it's just full of it. It's
Yeah.
just full of it.
And you know what? At one point, I
Yeah.
wasn't reading it. It was in my bag. It
Yeah.
was going in my work bag to work every day.
Yeah.
And I did read some, then I stopped.
Yeah.
I got, not because of any other reason, but
Yeah.
I'm just not a reader.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I did a couple of hospital shifts
Yeah.
for work.
Yeah.
And it's a long day in
Yeah,
the
it is a
hospital.
long day,
And
yep.
there's only so much you can talk to with your partner, your
with your
offsider
offsider,
about.
yeah.
So I grabbed it out and I read the second, say half of the book in 2 days.
Yeah.
And that was not long ago.
Yeah.
And I put a post up on Facebook that most of you probably would have seen and thought, this bloke's crazy. Everybody reads books. But I actually felt a sense of achievement.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the book, even though it took me 10 months to read. That's not because I didn't enjoy it. That's because I'm not a reader.
That's all right. Yeah.
But yeah, it got me. I'm thinking, this is a bloke. I know this bloke. It's not someone I don't know, and it's just his story. I could actually, whenever I was reading something, I'd picture you now.
You can.
Yeah.
And I think it's different when you actually know someone, and
Yep.
you're trying to build this picture of someone. You're like, I can try to see that,
Yeah.
And it's funny when you talk about the book. I'm not a good reader as well.
Yep.
My wife loves reading.
Yep.
She would read a book. Like, we would be flying somewhere. She takes like 2 books, and by the time we got there, she's just flipping through it, and she's done.
Yep.
So she's a good reader. But I worked up in Townsville in Abagauri, in one of the schools there. It was an
Yep.
indigenous school, and there was a bloke there called Peter, and he had a big story, and we were having a chat, and he said, "I'm going to write a book." I don't know how we got to that point. I'm like, "I'm going to write a book." I said, "Well, if you can do it, I also have a few stories I'm just willing to give out. Like sometimes it's just, you never know. Everyone has a story, but you never know what your story might do
Yeah.
to someone. So we were just sharing it. And I learned so much about him, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So as I worked, I used to have my computer, and I said, oh, I'll just start like, two episodes, two, sorry.
Sure.
I'll just start like a few and see what happens. So I started writing just words down, just putting my thoughts down. And before I know it, I looked at I was already at 5,000 words. I'm like, oh, this is something. So it took me 3 years to write that.
Okay.
And then it got to a point where my life and what I had written had just gotten to the point.
Yep.
So now I was actually writing what was happening as I go on,
Oh, okay, yeah.
And stuff kept happening, and I just put my thoughts down, because sometimes, like when you're, a family and all that, everyone goes through stuff, and
Yep.
you got your own stress. And I think also as men, sometimes it's different, because
Yep.
you have family looking at you for support.
Yep.
You don't have anywhere to look for support.
Yep.
So where do you get support from? So sometimes, you just put it down, and you move it. And before I knew it, I had a full book there, and I gave it to my wife. Said, "Oh, I've been writing this. I have 10,000 words." Like, oh.
Is that how many words there are in there?
I don't even know how many words are in there.
Okay, yeah,
She's
yeah.
like, oh.
Yep.
So because she loves reading books, she went through it. She's like, oh, I think you got something here. So she started editing and adding more things.
Mm-hmm.
And then we looked after that and like, oh, maybe you should publish it. Now that became another thing. I'm like, well, I've got this thing that I've written over the past 3-4 years. Well, I've got to publish it now. But now, when I reached out to different publishing companies, they wanted to change the story.
Okay, yeah.
Because they have a narrative of how they think it should sell or whatnot. But I wasn't intending to sell, so I thought, no, I want to tell the story the way I want to tell the story,
Yeah.
Because it's just about people just listening. And as you say, when you read it, you see a picture of what could happen, or,
Yep.
So I just went self-published. I just put it on Amazon, and within an hour, you're like, your book is published. I was like, oh, what do you mean?
Really?
Yeah, and that's how big. Yeah,
We've
so
never spoken about this part of the
it just took an hour to put it up on Amazon, open up an account, and before I knew it was.
So your
published.
wife edited it?
Yeah, she edited.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that bit, right?
Okay.
But you caught me attention there where you said everyone's got a story.
Everyone's got a story.
Now, if you've watched my other spectacular podcast,
Yeah.
and I'm being a little bit funny there because I don't have the best confidence in the world, self-confidence. I run myself down more than I build myself up, if that makes sense. So when I say these things,
Yeah.
I'm not being sarcastic and against the people I've done at all. It's just me knocking myself. But that's actually one of the punchlines of the reason I started a podcast.
Oh, really?
Everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
And it started off, I had this little, like a prelude, I suppose, or an intro written out on the computer. I typed it out.
Yeah.
Probably nearly 27,000 words. No, it's probably 27 words.
Yeah.
And it basically said, if you've got a story
Yeah.
and someone can learn from that story, then I want to talk to you.
Yes.
So it's amazing you said that. Now, editing.
Yeah, editing.
I'm not trying to take over
No,
this.
that's
This
okay.
is your story.
Yeah.
But your wife edited that book. Now,
She edited that book.
I started reading a second book. Well, not a second book.
Yeah.
Another book, because I've tried to read 100 books, but
Yeah.
this is the only one I've read. So I started reading Ant Middleton from SES.
Yep.
And, I'm not knocking this guy, obviously, but I got 3 or 4 pages in and I saw a grammatical error, if that's the way you say it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was clear as dust. And I'm thinking, I read Fred's book, and there was not one single thing out of place, and I've got 3 or 4 pages into this award-winning
Book.
motivational person, and
Yeah.
there was a grammatic, and Ant Middleton, if you listen, and I'm happy to talk to you on camera about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought, so your wife edited it.
Yeah.
And not that I'm looking for mistakes.
But I'll give you one mistake.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
you haven't noticed. So on the cover,
Yeah.
there is one small mistake.
Wow.
So where I write about myself is a Kenyan born in Australia, a master.
Ah, yes.
Yes, a master of
None.
none.
Yeah, okay. That could be,
No, I never picked that up.
but that could be the way you spell it in Kenya.
Oh, it could be.
Let's run it that way.
Could be. But that was a mistake. But I'd already done the cover. So I said, you know what? I'll wait and see if anyone picks that up. And a few people have picked that up.
Okay.
Funny enough, yeah.
You know, I think,
Yeah.
and I'm not being a clown here, but I think I may have seen that. But I've thought, none. The way you speak,
I would probably
maybe.
would say something like that. Yeah, that's all right.
Right, so before we get into talking about the book,
Yeah, yep.
you've asked about the merch. I've got some merch. It's actually not for sale, it's for Fred. This is yours.
Oh.
I've made, now, what makes this so special is I've made this all myself.
There you go.
Well, not the bottle, I didn't mould the bottle. But it's a very expensive bottle.
It is.
About
it
$3.
is. Yep.
And I got it on my wife's cricket machine. made my logo up, which is this one, and done myself as a tradie bloke. I'm trying my arts and crafts. So that's yours. I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much.
And there's a shirt there.
It looks pretty good.
It
Remember
does,
when you walked in, I said, wow, where'd you get that?
I did these the other day.
Yeah.
I think I did Gav Baker's podcast via Zoom, and I had this on.
Yep.
But that's yours. I don't know about the size. Is the size?
Oh, it doesn't matter, man.
Okay, yep.
Yeah,
so they're yours.
Keep
But maybe one day I will be selling these things. Who
You will
knows?
be selling. You know, funny enough, you say that. I was reading a story about Sylvester Stallone, Rambo.
Yep.
When he did Rambo 1, and he was actually homeless, believe it or not.
I think I've heard that story.
You heard that? And he sold his dog.
Yes.
And then
that was Rocky, I think.
That's
wasn't
Rocky,
it?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then when he went to sell, and they wanted to give a different actor that role, and he said, nah, he wanted to be the main actor.
Do you know what, Fred? I'm not into spirituality.
That's all right.
Did you watch the Gav Baker podcast?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I haven't finished it, but
We talked about spirituality and stuff.
Yep.
And things happening for a reason and unexplained
circumstances and stuff. Yeah.
Look at this. That's going to be one of my props.
No way.
Yeah. So that.
What are the odds? What are the odds? That's the story I'm just.
I know.
Yeah.
I've read this book.
Yeah.
Because it's not a book; it's a prop.
It's a prop.
But I've read every word of this book.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You were just talking about that. Rocky was a big part of my life.
Oh, yep.
Big part of the reason I enjoy boxing.
Yep.
Even though it was completely fake.
Yep.
But you can see the boxing glove there. I've got.
Oh, that's actually a box. Oh.
Yeah. It's Well, long story short, I do a little bit of work with Tasman fighters who run some fighters. They've got really good fighters. They've got a world champion, Jai Albertai, and Justice Hooney, and all these big name Australian fighters that are going to break the world in half. So I put that on there because I enjoy boxing right from Rocky. I've loved Rocky since I was a kid, and I've got that contact with Tasman fighters. I love watching the sport, and I just thought, let's hook in. Is a metaphor for, we can hook in as in boxing, or we can hook in and do some work, or we can hook in and have a chat.
Have a chat.
Yep. So that's my logo, and that's where it comes from Rocky, and you've just brought that up.
So
unprompted. Spirituality.
Everything happens for a reason. That's a different thing. If we actually did talk about spirituality, I've had a conversation with Edges. Phil.
Yeah.
And we were talking about two things. So two things I actually talk about a lot is about, like love exists. True love exists or something like that. And there's a thesis behind it that I've sort of come up with, but that's for another day. But the other one was the spirituality aspect of it, which is I'm Christian, I'm Catholic.
Yep.
But I call myself a non-conventional Christian. Not because I go to church every Sunday. Thanks to my wife, brought me back to church. I go to church every Sunday, take our kids to church. That's not optional. But the whole idea of Christianity, I think the world has changed so much over the years, and Christianity is one of those things that people don't talk about a lot.
Yep. And
I think it's just the way people see modern Christianity. When you think about Christianity, you think about a church, you think about a pastor at the front, and sometimes all you hear is a priest has done this, all the negative things about to Christianity.
Yep.
But then I also say is even if you're a non-believer, you do believe in something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
you got to feel something. You got to live in a certain way. You got morals. You got all these things. You want to treat me the way I want to treat you. It's still a form of.
We did have a slight conversation about this a few years ago. Remember that?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
yes, we did at the back.
I'm not a religious person.
Yep.
Apart from the spiritual signs that have been thrown my way lately, I'm not a spiritual person.
Yeah.
Spoke about my little story about Luke. I don't know if you're up to that part in the podcast where the doctor just knocks on the door. No one called the doctor, but he knew he was crook.
Yeah.
So there are things that have happened in my life that we've gone, what? How?
It's just questions.
What happened there?
Yeah.
How did that happen? It's unexplained to me.
It's unexplained.
But you're right. I'm not religious. I'm not spiritual. I'm just a bloke that treats people with respect. And tries to get along with everybody, and if eventually you're going to run into a dickhead, let's be honest, there's dickheads everywhere.
That is true.
And my tolerance for dickheads is not as good as some people, but that's another story. We're not here for that.
Yeah.
So that's your shirt. That's your bottle.
Thank you.
Very, very lot of time and effort put. No, not really, but they're yours.
You won't even know. Yep.
We're here for your book. I've spoken about my experiences with reading and this book, and it really did. I'm not just saying it because you're here. I really enjoyed it. The last 2 days, half a book. I read more of a book in 2 days than I've read ever in a life, so to speak. I normally start a podcast by saying, where are you from? What did you do? Give us a bit of your background. But that's exactly what this is about.
The whole book is in
so
there.
Do you want to just are you able to give us like a review? And if anything pops up,
Yeah.
maybe not much might pop up during the first half because it took me so long to read. But
That's all right.
and if I remember anything and
Yeah.
I want to ask you something or
Just
expand on
ask,
something,
shoot away.
let's go.
Yeah.
So let's do it, Fred.
Yeah.
Let's go. This is your book.
So this is my book. So I think just from the cover, this is a picture we took when we went for mission trip to Nepal, Philippines. And we went to do a few houses. So me and wife and a couple of people from our old workplace, we just took a trip to Philippines. One of the best experiences we ever had. Philippines people are, they're beautiful.
Is
Beautiful
this
people.
not a religious trip, like a trip for your
See, I'm not going to say if it was a religious or not.
Yeah.
It's just the aspect of it wasn't the in a sense deep down. Yes, we did it for purpose,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the purpose behind
Okay.
why we went there. It's just so being Catholics, the Philippines are very religious people.
Yeah.
It's a very poor country. It's almost like Kenya, but. They have this family setting, family orientation of togetherness. Everywhere you go, kids, if you're older, they'll greet you, they say, hello, Paul, and then they grab your hand and touch their head. It's a sign of blessing.
Okay.
It's a sign of respect. We don't have that.
Yep.
And sometimes when you stay in a country, like I'll say a Western country, you do miss things like those. And it does play a big part of you. And it's not just about the religious aspect of it, just as a person, you get to appreciate people more. So we did that trip. And one of the organizations that were doing the trip they go back to Philippines every year and they build houses.
Oh, okay.
And that's why we
Yep.
wanted to be part of
Yep.
it. So we did a few, it's just one single room houses and stuff, but it was amazing.
Yep.
So when I took that photo, everyone always commented about the photo, it's a bike. It's a bike with a carriage on the side,
Yeah.
Very unsafe, but it works. It actually works. It's just a bike and they've just added something on the side there.
Okay.
So that was a photo. But the whole idea of that is the book itself has my life story, Part of the life story is I lost my mom in 94, so that was, I do believe it was 94. So I grew up with my auntie and...
You were 16.
No, I was 6.
Oh, 88. Yeah, 6. Yeah. I've
So
given you 10 years.
I was pretty young.
Yeah.
And then I had my family, my auntie brought me up. I wasn't the best kid, gave her a hard time.
Yep.
We've got to say that.
You do mention that a little bit, but
Yeah.
nothing too dramatic
No,
from
it wasn't
the
nothing
reading.
too
Yeah.
dramatic. But, back home, it's a tough like that is very dramatic,
Yep.
because we fear our parents.
The standards are high.
The standards are very
Yeah.
different. We fear our parents, Even
Yep.
now, I do tell my wife, like, I'm 36, but when I go back home, I can't imagine staying outside my mom's house past 9 o'clock. I just, it just hits me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I've got to be home back by 9,
Yeah.
But that's part of it. So just a little bit of rebellion just goes a long way. So
Yeah.
I wasn't, but, I had my fair share bit of things.
Yep.
But the big part of the book was what happened after. So I ran away at 19, ran away from home, lived, shacked up with some lady at 19. Wasn't the best decisions of my life.
Yep.
But it's what happened after that. My life went downhill. And then one day I got an opportunity where this family friend was trying to help me to come here. And I took up the opportunity. So it actually took 2 weeks, which has never happened, but it took 2 weeks to get here.
Yep.
And I drank a lot and things like those. So when I got that chance, and I remember opening the email and the visa came, I said, you know what, God, I'm going to do something. I'm not going to drink until I finish uni. So I studied in Kenya. Then I came here as a student.
Yep.
I did IT. I got credits. I was actually did my 3-year degree course in 1.5 years. Got
Okay.
that. So that's part of the things where I started
So
changing.
The person that helped you come here,
Yeah.
as a family member,
It's just a family
they
friend.
were already here.
They've got family here. So the
Ah,
our
that's
kids
right.
are
Yep,
here. Yeah.
yep,
So
yep.
they helped me come here, which was a big part. They paid for my school fees, and my family back home tried what they could, and I got here.
Yep.
So that's when my life started changing, and then everything just took off. And that's the biggest part of the book is, even at the hardest times, there's always a story. There's always a story. There's good things, and we've had happened up and downs. Me and my wife. When she met me, she never really liked me. That's a big part
I
of the
remember
book
that
as
part,
well.
yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And when I came, I was also very naive, which I did a few things. I told you I racked up 3 speeding tickets on the same day because in Kenya, we don't have traffic rules.
Ah, yes.
So when I
yeah.
started driving,
Yeah.
I didn't know the speed limits do actually need to keep up the speed limits.
Yeah, right.
So that didn't go down very
No.
well. So
And you, from memory, and correct me if I'm wrong, you struggled to pay those.
I struggled to pay
And
those.
I think your wife helped
Yep,
you out.
she helped me
Yeah.
out. I struggled to pay
She's a
because I
keeper.
never knew. Even with the tolls, like you go through a toll, it's $3.50.
Yep.
If you don't pay it in 2 weeks, it goes up to 50
Yeah, with the fees. And,
with the fees and all.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Spa, it goes up to 130 or something like that. So if you get 5 speeding tickets over a month, you're
Yeah.
basically paying about $700.
yeah. I hear people quite often referring to their Spur debt.
Yeah.
Oh, not to Spur, and I didn't even know what that was. Spur. I think, what's Spur?
What's Spur?
And then I found out Spur was the recovery mob
the
for the
recovery mob
tolls.
for
Yeah.
this, yeah.
And some people thousands of dollars.
It's crazy from
Yeah.
$3.50.
Yep.
I think I had about, so in 2 weeks when I got my first job, I just used the toll because I didn't know that you're supposed to pay that. I didn't
Yep.
have a toll tag.
Yep.
So that 2 weeks worth of toll added up to about 1,700
Wow.
over 3 months.
With all the fees.
That was with all the fees that accumulate, and then if you miss a payment,
Yep.
it goes up. It's crazy. It is honestly, it's insane.
Yep.
You know,
So
but
she
I learned the
didn't,
lesson.
she didn't flick you away then.
Nah, she didn't flick me away. Then I took a credit card, and
Oh, yeah.
back home they don't give us free money, so that was free
Yeah.
money. I blew 10,000 over 3 weeks
Wow.
in credit
3
cards.
weeks.
So when she met me, I racked up a few debts,
Yeah, okay.
but she's helped me. She's a keeper.
Yeah,
She's,
right.
she's tried. Yeah.
We had a credit card when we had our first house.
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. We had some guy knock on the door saying, "Do you want to own your house in 7 years instead of 30?"
Yeah.
And I knew the bloke,
Yeah.
but we've gone, yeah, only had the house for 6 months.
Yeah.
And basically, long story short, we didn't qualify for this scheme, not scheme, but this way of paying your home loan off. And but he said, "Leave it with me. I reckon I can get you in. Once you're in, you're laughing." So we've gone, okay, cool. And he come back a week or so later. He basically cut our budget in half and did this and did that, tweaked the figures and got us in, and then gave us a $5,000 credit card. And but the idea was you live off the credit card, and at the end of the month, all your money goes in your mortgage.
Yep.
And at the end of the month, you pay your credit card off before it hits your fees. So we've gone, okay, cool.
Sounds enticing enough, doesn't it?
So we got this $5,000 credit card.
Yep.
And then his $3,500 fee for setting it all up
Yeah.
come out of our credit card. So we're effectively down to a $1,500 credit.
From a 5,000.
Yeah. And then we had to live from our real budget, not
Yep.
the half budget
No.
that he qualified us with. And,
And you still have to pay the 3,500 that
Yeah.
was put set up. So
Yeah.
a $5,000 credit card
Oh.
becomes to 8,500.
it was crazy.
It's
We
it's
lost
insane.
our house.
Did you?
Yeah, well,
No way.
we didn't lose it,
Yeah.
but we were forced to sell that place and downgrade to another one because we were never going to recover from that. And it would have just kept going. Luckily, it sounds silly saying that, but luckily we got it pretty early and we didn't keep rolling over. And,
Yeah, rolling
you know,
over.
So, yeah, that was my credit. We've never had one since.
You know, you're saying that, and I just got to, just away from the book a little bit.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who bought a second-hand car on finance.
Yep.
And every time he would skip payments, they would tell him, oh, you can just refinance and your payments go lower. So he bought a $6,000 car on finance. But by the time they took that car, because sometimes he wouldn't make the payments and all he would do is just keep refinancing, hurts his credit score and all that. But by the time he ended up paying a $6,000 car, the total amount was nearly $17,000 that he paid back for the car.
That's criminal, isn't it?
It is, isn't
That's
it?
crazy.
But all they keep telling him, oh, you can refinance. No, you
Yeah.
can pay $100 and then you refinance another 7 years. So you keep financing another 7 years on a $6,000 car. And those are the things people don't know and you get
Yeah.
caught up into. And that's part of it
Yeah.
is how I learned, you know.
Bloody
I had a
hell.
$10,000 credit card.
Yeah.
Looked simple enough on repayments. And
Yeah.
in my head, it made so much sense on how
Yeah.
I can repay it. But
Yeah.
believe it or not, it took me a long time to pay that credit card back.
Yeah, we haven't had a credit card since. We've got the Visa part, the Mastercards,
Yeah.
but it's all
Yeah.
with money we've
It's
got.
all yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
that's
yeah,
money.
well, she's a keeper.
Yeah, she's right. And then the other big part is growing up, I never knew I had a sister.
Yes.
So blood sister. So
Yep.
my dad left my mom when I was very young. My mom got married again, bless her, before she passed away. But then just before I got married, someone sent me a message on Facebook. I said, are you so-and-so's son? Which is my real dad's name. And I thought, oh, it must have been one of my dad's relatives looking for me now, you know. I didn't have a very good relationship with dad because I never knew him until when I finished high school. This random bloke just appeared and said, you're my son. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, who are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I never saw him after that. And the worst bit was he knew where I was, but all my life never showed.
He
Up
wasn't
until-
far away, was he?
No, it wasn't very far
That's
away.
right,
When
yeah.
I actually found out where he lived, it was just a walking distance from
Yeah.
my nana's place. But so this person sent me a message, And I'm thinking, hold on, it's looking for me. So, but then I got so very, get curious. I was so curious to find out what's it. So I said, yes, why? And then she said, here's my number. If you could WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is like Skype. It was like Skype back then, or FaceTime.
Yep. Yep.
Where you can actually just video call.
Yep.
So I said, here's my number. Can I call you? And then I have a story for you. It's very strange when somebody sends you that,
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's going on? So I didn't text her for 2 days or something like that. And then randomly I was 4 a.m. in the morning. I was just sitting in my bed and I'm like, let me just see. So I put the number and it was an American number. And I rang. And then when the video came, somebody on the other side of the phone looked exactly like me. Me and my sister look. It's
You
it's
had
very
no
strange.
idea what was going on. So you've got this phone call from a stranger, effectively.
Yeah.
And you've looked at yourself in the camera, the
In the
WhatsApp
camera,
camera.
yeah.
And okay, let's go on from there.
Yeah. And then somebody who looks like me just pops up. I'm thinking, what's going on? So I got very scared. I'm like, this must be a big prank. So I hung the phone and didn't ring back. Hey. So thoughts going through my mind. I'm thinking, what is happening? Because growing up, I always wanted like a blood sister. But the family that raised me, I had 2 brothers and a sister, but it wasn't the same.
Yep.
There's that different bond that you
Yeah.
have. So I rang her back and we ended up talking nearly half of the day. So America is 15 hours behind. So
Yep.
so we had that time, and yeah, we were just so alike.
Wow.
So that's
How far into the conversation did she say, I'm your sister?
she didn't have to.
Okay.
I just saw it and she didn't have to.
Yeah,
But now
right.
it was more of like, yes, she's my sister, but then what's the story? Like how is she my sister? So
Yep.
we have the same dad, but
Yep.
different moms.
Yep.
So she's older. Where she grew up and I grew up, I think we must have bumped in the city and wouldn't have even known.
Okay.
And the only reason she found out about me was she was looking for dad. So she wanted to find out her dad.
Yep.
And then found out she has a brother.
Yep.
And then she just went on Facebook and just searched up Fred Ogoti and then just went all the Fred Ogotis on Facebook and
Yep.
whoever replied, try to find out who's the brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's amazing. How long ago was this?
That was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that happened now, right? Let's say that you didn't go through that experience.
Yeah.
But that had happened now. Is there every chance you may have just deleted her and gone? Because I'm getting daily. I'm
Yep.
getting friend requests from
Yep.
women, people that I don't even know. So if that had happened in today's day and age, would there be a chance that you've gone, don't even know who this is, delete? Because I delete them.
Strange enough, yes.
Yep.
But same thing, you went back and said things happen for a reason.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
I think I was looking for something at that time.
Yep.
And it just, as I said, it was just before I got married.
Yeah.
So I met this person who's my sister, was part of my bridesmaids, and
Yeah.
growing up, always wanted to go in America, and
Yep.
lucky now she's in America. So
Yeah.
after our wedding, we ended up going to America.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
things happen for a reason. So
And she's still in America?
She's still in America. She's
Right.
married there, and
Yep.
that's what I say. In this age and time, yes, I would have, but things happen for a
Yeah.
reason because, as I said, it's strange. Also, somebody sending you a message, and I
Yeah.
thought it was just one of those random things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Back then, it wouldn't have been as suspicious as it is today
no,
because
no.
it didn't happen every day.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a big part, and also we have kids. We've had a few miscarriages along the
Yeah.
way. We've had a bit of struggle, but
Yep.
we've got 2 beautiful kids as well. So,
Yep.
so there's just a lot in the book there that the whole idea of the story was just somebody reading your story, and
Yep.
if it helps them in one way or another, because everyone has their own struggle. You
Yeah.
walk around and you never, it's hard to see what someone's going through. In this age and time, yes, you would never know. But as I said, big part of the book was just the story, just tell
Yeah.
your story. And funny enough, I've had a few people actually, send me a message and said, what you've done is insane. So I have one friend who's a workmate, not going to mention his name, but he went through a bit of stuff. And when I told the story, he's actually decided to put his thoughts on books, on if it
Yeah.
turns out to be a book, very good. But it's just one of those things. I said, everyone has a story, and it doesn't mean that someone's story is better than your story. No,
Exactly.
it just means they might say one single thing that might just change you. Where we live, we have like a Facebook group.
Yep.
Tell you a story. There's a lady, she went to TMB, the coffee shop.
Not really. No.
It's something, my brother, something. It's like a coffee shop. It's like a, Yeah, it's just a coffee shop. So on the drive-through, there was a tradie in front of her. So he bought coffee and told the lady, the next two people, I bought for them coffee. So whoever comes through, whatever remains,
Paying it forward.
Yes, paying it forward.
Yep.
So the lady was behind and she just got too emotional. So she wrote a big post on Facebook and said, the tradie was in front of me. You have no idea what you've done. My mom had cancer. I was actually just going to visit her, it's, terminal and all these things. And, just that simple act of humanity just changed her life. She was very emotional, but she was very happy as well that, these people. And this bloke probably didn't even know, Like, what are the chances of the day you buy coffee and the person was right behind you needed that the most?
No, you don't have a clue.
You have no
You
clue.
think you're just doing something good for somebody, but it blows out to be something massive.
And especially in this age and time, somebody does something good, they've got to remove the camera,
Yeah.
got to record themselves, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
it's hard to know now if you're doing something genuine or not, Someone will give you, go beggar and give them like $10, but then make sure they put a camera and they're probably earning double what they're giving. So,
Exactly. So she's part of did that create the Facebook page?
No,
that was
Facebook
one of the
page,
stories.
it's just a part of the story. It was just a Facebook group where we live, just an estate. In the estate, there's a Facebook group where everyone, just shares what they see, or also like we've been having a few break-ins and people just put stuff there.
Yeah.
But this lady, no one knows about her. She just randomly put there, and everyone just, I was like, it's amazing. It's, it's a big story.
You do see every now and again, even on the local one I'm in, not a great deal of times, but you do see, thanks to the guy in McDonald's drive-through who paid for my blah blah blah. Similar to that, not as touching as that, but you see it,
Yeah.
And I guess the person's intent is to, obviously the person paying for it is just to do a nice thing for somebody.
Yeah.
But the intent of somebody else replying to that and trying to put it onto a community page like that is, I don't think it's so much to find out who done it.
Yeah.
I think it's more like, guys, this made me feel good.
Exactly.
How about you try and more of us do it without even asking?
Without even asking, because think about it, like there's a lot of negative, especially in this age and time. It is hard to have a family at this time, you know what I mean? I think the world has changed so much, It's always negative things around. It's very hard to find a positive thing,
Just watch the news.
It's just watch the news, exactly. It's always there. There's nothing good.
No.
Or if it is, it's just one segment out of many. But think about it, especially after COVID, what people are going through. So I do this thing every month where I just call it act of service. So I wash houses. When I was a student, I used to wash houses, and I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't
Wash
mind.
house, like
wash
outside
houses, like wash house, like
clean, like
clean.
clean.
Yeah,
Okay,
clean.
yeah.
So every month I do an act of service where I just ask whoever needs help, and I'll just come wash your house
For nothing.
just for nothing.
Wow.
It's just an act of service. And I've met people who I barely knew. Now, funny enough, I met a lady a few years back, and I did that, and she was retired, and she struggled a lot, so she used to exercise a lot. So every time I go clean the house every month, she'll be exercising, and we have become very good friends because we would sit there. Sometimes she's like, no, Fred, don't clean the house, just come sit here. And she would just needed someone to talk. And we would talk for ages.
Yep.
Now, funny enough is my wife's friend, they were in uni with, ended up marrying the son of this lady.
Oh, okay.
Don't even know how they met. So the day we went, I said,
There's a spiritual
I know.
thing,
The day I started looking and said, I know him. Like, I know that bloke, you know what I mean? I used to clean their houses. And the mom come up and and we're still very good friends. But you see, it's the idea is, you just never know. It could be something so small, but you never know,
Yeah.
So
there's a similar story that, I don't know if you've seen this guy on Instagram, I think it is. It's Nathan's Lawns and Gardens. Have you seen this guy? He has a thing, he's just a lawn mowing contractor, I guess. And he's got this thing, he films it all. He goes on, it's called Free Fridays or something like that.
Yeah.
So he'll be driving around and he'll, look, my grass needs a motor, I've got to do it after this podcast. So the longer we can draw this out,
I'm
the
not going
better.
to help you, sorry.
So yeah, he'll go past someone's house and he'll see it's overgrown, and or someone might say, hey, Fred, I know Fred, he's not doing so well, he's got a broken leg or whatever, and his lawns are. So he takes these stories on, or he just drives past somewhere and he'll record it. You'll knock on their door, say, hey, it's my name's Nathan, I'm a lawnmower, I want to mow your lawn for free. Yeah. So similar to that, but he's actually putting that out there for everybody to see as well.
See,
the same sort of principle, I guess.
It's just a principle.
Helping someone out.
Yeah, it's just helping someone out. And that's what I say is, as I said, everyone has a story. It's
Yeah.
just your story is different.
Yeah.
But the big part of what your story can do to someone, you have no idea.
Yeah,
There's no
that's right.
intention, because sometimes, and I tell you, is the many people I've met at this time is it's never even monetary. It's just talking. People, we don't know how to talk anymore.
Yeah.
We don't know how to sit down and just have a genuine conversation.
exactly
you know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah.
Have you seen how many times you sit, even at work, you sit with someone and you're sitting there and you're thinking, what am I going to ask him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you start a conversation?
And on top of that, you've got men
Yeah.
who don't generally want to express their feelings or their concerns and I spoke about this on Gav's podcast
Yeah.
the other day. In 8 years at our workplace,
Yeah.
there's only twice, so 2 times in 8 years that I've been sitting in a room with guys
Yeah.
and had a proper, legit conversation about people struggling.
Yes.
It's normally, you dickhead, punching each other and pulling the piss out of each other and joking and talking about people, which we shouldn't do. But yeah, all these stuff that we've done for 8 years, and only twice we've actually had an in-depth conversation about someone struggling and trying to. We'll always help people out.
Yeah.
But to that level of conversation has only been twice in 8 years.
And that's
sad.
it's strange how what conversation can actually do, because sometimes you don't even have to talk about your story. You can actually talk about your struggles without telling someone your struggles.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
You can just sit there, and at the end of that, it's just someone you just wanted to vent out, unload.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially, I know I've got nothing against ladies out there, but I think there's a lot of support for women and children, and less support for men.
Yeah.
And it's very hard, especially if a man. So think about it. If you're too soft, if you show emotion, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you don't show emotion, it's a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't support, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you look for support, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So being a man, is it just a bad thing? You know what I mean?
It's our fault.
It's our fault.
It's not the women's fault.
No,
it's our fault.
Yeah. If a bloke just come inside you and say, you know what, Craig, today I'm actually struggling, I didn't provide for my family yesterday, or I didn't have food yesterday, or the first thing that goes to your mind is like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, the first thing that comes to your mind is just negative. You're like, man, you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Why are you so soft?
You're earning good money. What are you doing with your money?
What do you do with the money? You know what I mean? So I think there should be more support, and there should be more talk about men's health,
Well, Gav Baker has just launched something on Facebook. It's something to do with an elephant. It was funny. Spirituality again. I might become a bloody...
You're talking about spirituality a lot now.
That must be real. But he's opened up he's going to do have you got Gav on Facebook?
I used to, but
okay,
not yet.
Well, he's started this thing called the elephant room or something.
Yeah.
So there's an elephant in the room.
Yeah.
That's sort of a saying about something odd or something different. He's starting up. It's the elephant room where guys with mental health issues can talk about it and openly discuss it.
Yeah.
And as I was podcasting, he was talking about this on the podcast. Little did I know, I was in my grandson's future bedroom.
Yeah.
We've got a grandson who's too small for the bedroom at the moment.
That. So cute.
And there's an elephant.
Yeah.
On the wall. Katrina's put an elephant on the wall.
Yeah.
And here's Gav talking about the elephant in the room, the elephant room, and started his own little podcasty type websitey thing or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And here I am sitting in front of a bloody elephant the whole time
The
during this
elephant in the
podcast.
room.
I can't believe it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But there's very few support for men.
Yep.
And I'm always, I've got a friend who we're always talking, one of the things we'll do is if we meet every year, well, we're always meeting, but at the beginning of the year, we'll always say, what's the plan for this year? And the plan for this year is just not for you. What's the plan for you and your family?
Yep.
And a big part of, you remember, like with kids, it's very hard to raise kids in this age and time.
Yeah.
But your strength as a man, or your strength as a man in the family, if you have a family, I don't know if some people have family, but the strength of a man as a man in that family is kids look up to you. What you're projecting, they feel that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you have that mental strength, you have that mental growth, you're projecting that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because think about it now, it's very hard to discipline kids.
Yeah.
They all smack it. It's changed. So we've got to find what goes down to kids, because we are actually building a generation to come.
Yeah.
So if we don't know how to have mental strength, we don't know how to maintain our mental stability, what are our kids going to be?
Yeah.
Look at it. Anxiety has grown up. It's gone up.
Yep.
Medication's gone up.
Yep.
Kids don't know how to. People have kids, especially young kids and boys, are too overwhelmed. Don't know how to control their feelings and things like this. And it actually ends up having more broken families than ever, because if you can't control that, you need to be strong. You need to be stronger. So me and a few friends are trying to do that, and every time we try and talk about that, we're not perfect. By far, never been perfect. You know what I mean? We also got our struggles and stuff, but it's just talking about it.
Yeah, I think most guys have got it in them that they want to be vulnerable. They want to express their feelings to people. And here I am. I'm a hard-nosed, ex-bloody sporty dude with 2 boys and a daughter, and I'm at my job. We're not soft. We're hard. We're hard nuts. We don't talk about shit.
No.
But I got a message during the week from a guy I work with, a guy that I haven't really had a great deal of interactions with, and interactions I have had with him, probably from both sides of the conversation, have been a little bit negative, I guess. Reached out to me saying, "Hey, I watched your podcast with Phil Hedges." And something stood out to him, something that stood out to Gav Baker as well. The comment Phil made about the more front, the more back of a person. So the more front you put out, the more you've got behind you, which, I picked up on that as well.
That's true.
But there's 2 people picked up on that comment from Phil. So my job's done. Just from that one podcast, people have seen it. But anyway, he reached out to me after that. I said, "Hey, I know we haven't had the best relationship sort of thing in the world, but I'm starting a monthly chat with guys and this and that, and you'd be great for it." And I'm thinking, I
think I know who you're talking about. But
I think you do. So I've thought, shit, I've just touched somebody who at work who, we're not enemies, but we're not mates. We're just, hello, how you going? That's about it. And he's reached out to me after seeing. Well, he didn't know that I did this sort of stuff. He didn't know I had this in me.
No.
And now, that's what I mean. We hold it in. We give off this perception. He probably thought I was this bloody union delegate, thug, bully type thing, which I don't give. I hope I don't give that off. Imagine being bullied by a 5'7" bloke. But I guess that's a persona I give off. People at work, if you do something silly, there's no, "Hey mate, are you okay?" It's, "Oh, what a dickhead. What do you do that for?"
What do you do that for?
So maybe that's the impression he got of me. But just from having not even a conversation, he watched my conversation with another guy, and I think he'll watch this one as well. But you just don't know what's going on.
You just don't. And you see, funny enough, you talk about the persona, what you see. Now think about when you walk down the street. People. I don't know if people go through that, but I do. I walk around, and when I see people, I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what's going through his head." And it's very hard to actually see someone's authentic self from the, you got to find out more, So if you see a pretty boy, first thing in mind will go just like, he's a pretty boy. So he might be a player, or he's probably got like 700 women, or you know what I mean? You have no idea. Then you have a sit down and you have a chat about them, and they'll tell you the struggle. I have a struggle of being a pretty boy because I've got all these things that I don't want. Where you think your negative might be someone's positive. Your positive might be someone's negative.
And this pretty boy who looks good to all the women might be in the men.
Exactly. There you go. You just have no idea. You know what I mean? And that's a while today. We are so focused on the outside. We've forgotten how to get in touch with the inside. Back in the days, remember our fathers and stuff. They used to go sit down in the pub. They talk about stuff. They'd have a few pints, and if you had an issue with someone, you just go sit there and give it to him. But now, if you have an issue with someone, you go tell someone else.
Exactly.
You never go, and then they'll find out from someone else that, you got an issue with them. So
that's the big drama. That is, in the old days, used to be the car park.
Used to be car park.
Let's go to the car park. You'd punch one in the car park, and you'd shake hands, and it's like a boxing match.
It's just a boxing match.
You punch the shit out of each other, and at the end of it, you shake hands, and we move on.
That's it.
But it's funny you talk about the old man. My old man didn't, and I've learned a lot from my dad. I love him to death. He's actually passed away a few years ago.
Oh, sorry, man.
That's all right. He didn't really have the ability to express love to anyone, really. But, whereas I've learnt from, not his mistakes, because it's not a mistake, it's just the way he was. His dad died when he was about 5 or 6 years of age. So I've learnt from not getting that from Dad. I don't even know if I wanted it. I probably did. But my kids, I tell my kids all the time how much I love them, but he'd go to the pub, exactly like you're saying, and he'd talk shit with his mates that he played soccer with and played darts against and whatever else. And I had this classic example once. I was working in Lithgow in a jail, And it was one of my first shifts, and I was working with this bloke who'd been in the job longer than me. I didn't know who he was. He had one stripe on his shoulder, and I was brand new. And we walk around this compound all day. Well, that was our job for the whole day. But early on, I thought, this bloke's another one of them dickheads that's not going to talk. You know, he's one of those sort of blokes, because they didn't talk to new people.
Yeah.
So, but me being me, I've gone out of my way to make a conversation. I said to him, "Oh, so what'd you do before this, mate?"
Yeah.
And he said, "I was in the pit," which is the coal mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, real abrupt. "Shut up, mate, I don't want to talk to you," sort of an answer. And I went, "Oh, okay, which pit were you in?" He said, "Clarence," which is a coal mine in Lithgow.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, you might know my old man."
Yeah.
And he's gone, "Who's your old man?" I said, "Rooster Bradford." He's gone, "Rooster?" His whole demeanour changed.
Yeah.
He's gone, "Rooster? I know Rooster. I used to carpool with him. He was in my crew, blah, 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 blah." And he said, this is the bit that stuck out to this next bit.
Yeah.
He said, "Which one are you? Are you the cricketer or are you the kickboxer?" And I thought, what?
What?
Dad,
So he does talk
Dad
about me.
referred to me as the
Yeah.
cricketer and to my brother as the kickboxer.
Yeah.
He had two boys. He's got two girls, similar to your story. He moved on and had two other children with another woman. But right there in that moment, that's 1999. So I'm 26, 7 years of age. I thought, Dad never said he loved me. He doesn't hug me. I go and hug him and he's sort of, I know he loves me. I don't need that. But that there was exactly what you're talking about. Go to the pub, open up to your mates, tell them how good your kids are at the sport. Don't tell your kids how good they are.
No.
Go and watch them. They might score 5 goals or score 100 and get 10 wickets or kick someone's head in a tournament or whatever like that is. But don't pat you on the back and say, "Well done, son."
No.
Because he didn't get that.
Yeah.
Whereas I've learnt from that with my kids. They get all the praise in the world.
You know, funny enough, you're saying that, and we had a conversation about this about 2 weeks ago. Something about overcompensating. See, growing up, what our parents gave us, we overcompensate to our children.
Yeah.
Because remember, if they love you too much, and you grow up and all you found is love, you didn't have the discipline, you'd be like, well, they never disciplined me, so it's their fault that I'm this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you missed out the discipline. So when you have kids, what do? You give them less love, more discipline, because you think the discipline was more important than the love.
Yeah, right.
When those kids grow up, what did they get? Discipline, less love.
Yeah.
So they start thinking the love that you didn't give them was more important than the discipline. So what did they do in turn?
They compensate.
They compensate.
Yeah.
So in families, you find that is we think that what our parents gave us was either less or more.
Yeah.
So what we missed out on the less part, we think that was what is important.
Yeah.
But if you look at life as a whole, is what you're given is what you needed. You know, there's a difference between what you need and what you want.
Yeah.
I want $1 million.
Yeah.
Do I necessarily need $1 million? No.
No.
You know what I mean? So the need and want are two different things.
I think I saw something on your Facebook about that
What did you see?
a while ago, something about $1 million or something.
Yeah. So need and want,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need those small things, but then you want all these big things.
Yeah.
But when you want something, you never get satisfied. Because the
Exactly.
problem with want is you will get that, but you will want more.
Yeah.
You will get that, you will want even more.
Yeah.
But what you need, you'll always be satisfied, because what you need is what you get, and it's nothing more, nothing less.
No, that's
What
right.
you need has to be there, and that's it.
Yeah. Because you see all these stories of people that have won the lotto.
Yeah.
They've won the lotto, they've blown it all.
Yeah.
And you see all these rich people in it, and when you're looking for money, when you want money, you see all these rich people say, money's not everything. And you think to yourself, oh, yeah, righto, show me. Give me your money.
Give
then,
me your money.
But it's a common trend. Like,
It is a common trend.
people want money. People who haven't got money want it.
Yeah.
And people who have got money don't want it or say it's not a great thing.
There's a post on Facebook which is you get a few good things on Facebook. So there's a post on Facebook where this guy was driving a Mercedes, and he was looking at a guy with driving a Toyota, and he said, "Oh, my Mercedes is a good car, but if I had the same fuel efficiency as the Toyota, I'd have the perfect car." And the guy driving the Toyota was looking at the guy riding the bicycle, the motorbike, and he's like, "Oh, my Toyota is pretty good, it's fuel efficient, but if I had good service like the motorbike, it's cheap on service and what, then it'd be a perfect car."
Yeah.
And the guy riding the motorbike was looking at the guy riding the bicycle, and he's thinking, "Oh, if only I could have the motorbike, but then not pay for fuel like the guy on the bicycle doesn't pay for fuel, then I'd have the best motorbike."
Yeah.
And the guy riding the bicycle was looking at the guy walking, and he's thinking, "Wow, you know what, if I could be able to walk like this guy, to work and back, and I don't have to ride the bicycle, then I'd have better fitness, or I'd have all these things." So you always, everything you see someone has is always something you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not what you need, but it's always something you want.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, even in life, is just from a story that I've experienced. When I was a student, I was able to save up my school fees. So I would save up about 10,000 every 3-4 months for school fees, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have the best job, a disability job, you know?
Yep.
But then after I finished uni and I had my own house, my saving, I couldn't save up 10,000 because now I always wanted more, you know,
Yep.
you want more. So as the more you get, the more you want.
Yep.
And it just grows, you know, that's
Yeah.
why you find millionaires, they've got all this money, but they would end up just work even extra to get more money. So they're trying to match what they have because what they have will never be enough.
Yeah.
Even if you had a lot of $1 million, it might not be enough, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because even if you look at the Set for Life, the 20,000.
Yeah, yeah.
How
The
much is
scratchy
that?
thing, isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
it's a Lotto one.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's Set
yeah.
for Life,
Yep.
where you win 20,000 a month for 20 years.
Yep, yep.
Have you ever worked out how much that is?
No.
It's only
4 million, is it?
it's about 4.8 million.
Yeah,
But if you look at it, when somebody says, I give you 20,000 a month for 20 years, that's a lot of money.
yeah,
That's 10,000 a fortnight.
yep,
Do you spend 10,000 a fortnight? That's 5,000 a week.
yeah.
Do you even spend that money?
Yeah.
So if you literally, just retrospect speaking, if you won 4.8 million, you should be able to retire because you should be able to live
Yeah.
for 20 years on 20,000.
Yeah, exactly.
But then look at when people play the lotto. No one tries to play the 4,000. Very people play the 4 million.
You know,
People start playing when it's 100 million.
you've just picked me. You've just picked me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start playing at 100 million, but what do you need the 100 million for?
Yeah, because it's, yeah, exactly right. You're exactly right. But you know what? That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I've got a small group at work, and I haven't got a figure. Let's say it's 50 million is the
Yeah.
limit. We don't have a regular weekly lotto syndicate type thing, but
Yeah.
whenever it pops up, I'll send a message to the guys and say, hey guys, it's Powerball's 100 million this week.
Yeah.
How about we throw $50 in each? And we do.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't do that every week when it's only a $4 million prize. It's only when it's 50, 100 million, 200 million.
Yeah.
And they never ever draw our numbers out.
They never draw your numbers out, which is really draw. Like, but then when you go to work, how much do you earn a fortnight? You know, assuming you earn probably half that.
You want more.
You want more,
Yeah.
always wanting more.
That's why I'm doing this.
And the merch, eh?
Yeah, the merch, yeah.
One more. But you see, we need to find, I think as a human or as a people, as a society, we need to find this place where what is enough.
Yeah.
You need to find where your enough is, and then once you have your enough is, if you work more, you're still safe. If you work less, you're still safe because you have a line where you can go up and down. If you don't have that satisfaction level, if you don't have that line, you're always going to have too much pressure on yourself because you're always going to look for more, and more will never be enough.
Yeah. There's big lessons to be learned. You should. Have you ever thought about writing like a motivational book?
Oh, no, I don't.
So get back to the book.
Yep.
This one's been and done. You've done it.
That's all right.
Have you got the bug now? Is there a bug? A writer's bug?
Not to write again.
Yeah, okay.
I think I had just one story because the writing was more of my story.
Yeah.
And I think I've pretty finished my story and then the whole point was just, funny enough, was to prove to myself that I could do it.
And you've done it.
And I've done it.
Yeah.
Another thing I've done is I'm 100 kilos. I used to do powerlifting before I went to corrections.
Okay, yep.
And I think my leg press was 500 kilos. My deadlift was like 220.
Is that just one leg or is that both legs?
Like both legs. Yeah.
Bloody
I
hell,
haven't
I know.
done, you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
But it's just because I just wanted to prove myself I could
Yeah.
do it. When I came to Australia, believe it or not, I was 56 kilos.
56?
56 kilos. When I landed in March 2012, I was 56 kilos.
Right.
I have done my epitome of powerlifting just because I could do it. After
Yeah.
I finished powerlifting, I said, I met this friend, his name is Scott, and he's a runner. And he started getting me out to run. I was like, I'm not a runner, man. I'm this heavy dude, I can't even run.
Yeah.
And he gave me a challenge. He said, well, let's try and see if you could do half a marathon.
And you did.
And I did the half marathon last year. I did it in 2 hours.
Not bad.
Not bad. So I just got into
So about
running.
10 k's and over 10 k's an hour.
Exactly. That's 21k. Yeah, exactly.
10 and
10
a
k's
half.
an hour. Yeah,
That's
it's about
good going.
Yeah, so I did that. You know what I mean? And it's more of in my life especially because of the book. Just because I could do that.
Yeah.
I always try and do things where I say, you know what? I know a lot of people wouldn't believe that I could actually do that, but I believe I can do that.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, my wife will tell you this. I'm the biggest procrastinator you can meet.
Yeah.
I am a big one.
Yeah.
But even in my procrastination, I always try find something that I can look all the way.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? And it's always stuff physical. So I've done the book.
Yeah.
I think now I'm thinking something like this, you know,
Yeah.
podcast, you know,
What?
motivation or not.
Look, if I can do it,
If you
mate,
can do
if
it,
I can do it in my sweatbox shed with iPads.
yeah, always wanting more. Now,
Yeah.
I think now is my biggest focus is like what a few people are trying to do is find a way. I don't know how, but find a way on how to create a system that for men's health,
Mate,
and
that's-
more so not just generally men, but people with families. You know,
Yeah.
husbands,
Yeah.
wives, and things. You know, people who have husbands and
Yeah.
are struggling. You know,
Yeah.
things like those. So a safe space where we can come as a family with kids and just talk about different things, finances. You know,
Are you involved in that group that I might have been talking about earlier?
no,
That
I'm
fella-
part of it, but I'm not
like in-
involved. I'm not involved yet.
Yeah, but you're in that group.
I'm
on
in
the,
that
on the
group.
Facebook thing.
I am
yeah.
in that group.
Sort
You
of
see, the problem with this is just me
Yeah.
having a problem. I have a group like that. That's just being a member, but I wouldn't be actively be part of that
Yeah.
group
Yeah.
because you know those people personally. These are
Yeah.
people that I'll probably want to have conversation, like a one-on-one conversation, rather than in a group, because if you set up a group, you want to have a group that lasts. You don't want to have a group that drops because you also have intentions in that group. So most of the groups that I've seen, like a men's group that I've been following, this is a book I've been reading and weird enough, podcast, listening, not reading, but audible, I was listening to it.
Yeah.
And it's a guy who had 6 friends and they've started a group and they became very friends. So they had monthly meetings where, you know, they would go play soccer and things like that. But they became such good friends that everything they did together. And up until then, their old age, as they started dying, only 2 are left now.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because one of the things is, one of my friends always says is, attach yourself with people with the same values. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you attach with these people with the same values, it means if I'm successful, you will see my success, but then you will try and make me better in my success. You don't want to have friends or you don't want to have a group around you where if I'm successful, what you're feeling is, why are you successful
Yeah.
and I'm not successful?
They bring you down.
They bring you down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The only way you can go up is find somebody who's going up,
Yeah.
and then you can see where they're going, and you want to go with them.
Yeah. I've heard that reference in life before. Like if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires.
I would be millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple philosophy, isn't it, really?
It sounds simple, but I think it's also hard to get as
Yeah,
well, because
hard to follow it up.
how to follow up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Look at me, I'm not hanging around podcasters. Yeah,
But you're doing pretty well, you know. Like
Well,
I've
it's-
followed a
it's-
few of your podcasts. So.
mate. Honestly, like I could look at the date of Phil's podcast. It's probably 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I am the sort of guy. I call myself an entrepreneur trapped in a tradie's mindset because I've got a million ideas.
Yeah.
But I just don't do them. You know, I just go to work, do my thing. And this here, I set myself a challenge, or I don't even know what the philosophy might be, but I thought I'm going to try it. And I was talking to Phil one day, and he's climbing mountains, he's hypnotist,
He's doing all these things,
doing
isn't he?
all these things. And I thought, you know, I was bullshitting, to be honest. I said,
Yeah.
do you want to come over? Do a podcast on you?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're not going to do that. He's going, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, come
And I
on.
went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I thought, shit, how are we going to do it? And I'm still using some of the equipment today that I used back then,
Yeah.
because I've always said I'm not going to invest a heap of money in it,
Yeah.
because it's just for fun.
Yeah.
And I did it just over there, as you can see. In
Yeah.
front. This is a
No,
better
look,
setup.
it's new
Look at
setup
it.
and it
I'm
looks
getting
amazing.
better.
You're
I'm
getting better.
But I love doing it.
But you see, it's also getting stuff that you like to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talking to people about.
Just talking stuff. You
Yeah.
know, when you ask me like, oh, you finished my book and I'd like you to be on my, come to my show. I'm not gonna go to the podcast. I'm gonna go to the show. I'm gonna give you the credit.
Yeah.
So you gonna come to my show? I'm like, yeah. Funny enough, because I've told my missus, I'm like, how good would it be to be somewhere where you talk about. It wasn't even about the book.
Yeah.
Just talk about to people and stuff.
Yeah.
And here we are. So you've given me an opportunity as well. You know what I mean? And I've put my thoughts out there, and
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
Well, I was nervous asking you, even after reading. I'm nervous asking anybody, because to me, in
Yeah.
my own self-doubt, it's, I'm a housing commission. I was growing up in a housing commission
Yeah.
area. I've got a housing commission wife, and she doesn't like me talking about this sort of stuff, but we both come from similar backgrounds, broken homes, low incomes, all this sort of stuff. And I've always had that self-doubt.
Yeah.
You know, quick story, and I don't want to get too sentimental because it's not about that.
Yeah.
But I had this girl in year 10. Her father, I shouldn't say too much, I might give it away, but her family owned a massive big company in the town I'm from, a massive big company. And she asked me, would I go to the year 10 formal with her?
Yep.
And I thought, oh shit, you know, I'm a houso. She didn't know where I lived or anything like that. I'm a houso. And I wasn't a houso, I was always sporty, I was always a cool kid.
Yeah.
But I felt that.
You felt that.
And she asked me to go to the year 10 farewell with her. I thought, okay, let's do it. And over the next few months, it was not a dating sort of a thing, it was just go and get photos with each other. Over the few months before that, leading up to that, I think she found out where I lived. And she judged me, and this is a haunting story for me. The day of the farewell, I'm ringing her up, and her mother's answering the phone and saying, oh, she's just getting her hair done. Oh, okay, cool, I'll ring back later. Because I had a big Chevy car lined up, my uncle owned a Chevy, and that was our ride to the thing, you know, to get photos out. It was the best car in the day.
Yeah.
And I had everything set up, and I wasn't trying to impress her.
Yeah. Are you sure?
I was never, I didn't have any romantic interest in her at all, to be honest with you. Not that that's, it wasn't about that. It was just, okay, well, she's asked me. Cool. So anyway, rang up about 4 or 5 times, and in the end I had to go without her. So I've driven to the mum, I think my mum was with me, driven to the farewell, got out of the Chevy, me and mum, and here she was already there.
With someone else?
No, not with someone else, but we got a couple of photos, but and it didn't hit me till a few years ago. She found out where, maybe...
She found out where you lived, and then...
found out that I wasn't this cool, sporty, not so much rich, but cool, sporty. I give off an impression, and I was a likeable dude, and I was pretty good at sport.
Yeah.
But I think she found out where I lived and thought, I can't go to this with a houso.
Now,
it could be 100% wrong.
You know the old saying where they say, fake it till you make it?
Yeah.
So you faked it but didn't make it.
I don't even think I faked it. Oh, yeah,
You're
right, yeah. So that's my story about my self-confidence, my self-doubt.
And thing, yeah.
It all stems from that, I believe, that growing up. But we've overachieved, me and my wife, coming from where we come from. And it's not a competition, but we've done pretty bloody well.
You say that funny thing is, I am not the most confident person out there. I am very shy.
Okay.
Surprisingly, I am very shy.
Yeah.
But I'm the same as you. I think the self-doubt hits a lot more when you're struggling. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if it's financially and things like that, you struggle where you feel like people are doing better than you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
If it's sport, you struggle where you feel like there's more people doing better. It's always like you feel like there's someone better. So you're judging others to judge yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The self-doubt creeps in a lot more.
Yeah.
But just from self-experience, from my experiences, I have become more confident as I have become more successful.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it gives you some sort of stature.
Yeah.
Is that the word, stature?
Yeah,
Stature?
I guess. Yeah.
Stature? You feel, you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's pride. And that's why my biggest motto, my biggest thing I always try to tell people is be proud with the little you have.
Yeah.
Because there's success in that little. Because there's someone else who doesn't have.
Yeah.
See, also self-doubt stems from competition. And that's one of the reasons why I say surround yourself with people who will lift you up, not bring you down.
Exactly.
Because once you start competing, it's negative. Because if we're competing on, you have a big Chevy and I drive a Toyota, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to get a loan car to get a big Chevy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to suffer just to be in the same line with you.
And here I am suffering to pay that big Chevy.
And exactly, and I'm suffering, but it looks good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is you got to find that balance. Then the self-doubt start coming out, and then the other thing is same thing as you've done. You started a podcast. Your self-doubt, yes, but then you've done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't as good, I tell you what, I always tell my messages, even if I haven't sold like that many copies, I've sold a few, and I've had some good reviews and stuff.
Yep.
But when my kids grow up, I'm a published author, man. I did it.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought? I did it.
Exactly.
And I've got confidence, and I'm proud to have that. And say, that's mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody's got a story. There's yours.
There's my story.
But I believe you got more because this book ends is it around about the time your son's born?
Yes.
Mate, how old's your son now?
It was 1.5. Yeah,
Okay.
nearly 1.5. So
Maybe in a few more years' time.
It's a few more years, could be more than that. You know what I mean? But that's the whole point is find something, and sometimes you find something that's tangible.
Yeah.
You know, if you have some sort of success, my always take is, some people say write it down. I
Yeah.
always say put it somewhere. So every time I've gone, like when I went to the Gold Coast half marathon, I got a medal. I have it up there.
Yeah.
I went for the Kokoda challenge. That was the
Oh,
hardest
yeah,
thing
yeah,
I've
yeah.
ever done in my life.
Yep.
But the fact that I finished that, I went with a few people, you know, Spence and Maddie
Yeah.
and, you know.
Oh, yeah, I saw. Did you have skirts on?
Yes, we
I
had the
remember
pink
that,
skirts,
yeah.
yeah, the tutu dresses, you
Yeah.
know. But we finished that,
Yep.
and I have that
Yeah.
on my wall. So that's my success wall. You know what I mean?
What's next? Full marathon? A full one?
But I'm thinking of full marathon. Maybe not this year, but
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's the next one. So
Yeah.
have a success wall, have a success somewhere that is personal. Have a
Yeah.
shrine, you know,
Yeah.
where you walk in. Because trust me, there are days you're at your lowest, and you go, you're like, Jesus, I did all that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
right.
good. You know what I mean?
Well, I look at my YouTube channel,
Yeah.
which I still don't know how to operate properly, but I look at that now and I've got, well, you'll be number 6, I think.
Yeah.
6 podcasts.
Oh,
Here I was thinking,
Yeah,
I remember talking to a girl. She's a very successful podcaster.
yeah.
And I remember asking her, what do you do? How do you do it? Oh, I'm thinking about doing one. She said, yeah, do it. And I thought, okay. And I had no idea. A couple of Google video, YouTube videos, and now
look where you
look
are.
at this. Like, I haven't got the state of the art studio
And
yet.
surprising enough is I've had a few people who've actually talked about your podcast.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where you know you're doing something. And,
Yeah.
and that's what I said is, when you're doing something, do it for yourself. Don't
Yeah.
do it for others.
Yep.
Let others appreciate what you've done,
Yep.
but you appreciate what you've done.
Yep.
So that if it doesn't go the way you think it goes, you have a fallback plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same
Yep.
thing as when you're dating a girl, or when you're going into dating or things like that. You start it as friendship, so that if the dating doesn't work, if she
Still
doesn't
friends.
appreciate you, you still have the friendship
Yeah.
to fall down.
Yeah.
Don't just go straight into it. It's as many things. You
Yeah.
know, you start writing. You start one page at a time, so that if it fails, you can always go back to the first page. It's like what you said about your reading. You start reading at the end of the paragraph. You start again. You start from the first paragraph.
Yeah.
But look, now you can always say you finished the book.
I've read a book.
And how did you feel when you finished the book? You actually read a full
I
book.
think I sent you a message.
I remember you did.
I sent you a message. I cannot explain it, and that's the self. I don't know if it's self doubt or whether it's just something in my head. People, I've got a cousin. My cousin's the same age as me. She reads millions of books. So for me to say to people on social media, I've just read my first book.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
The
that's
sense of
silly.
accomplishment
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
sounds silly, but the sense of accomplishment,
It
it takes
was
you a
an
long way.
accomplishment to me.
It is a big accomplishment.
I thought,
you know?
wow. I went through school and did all the, you get given a novel for school. Go and read this book and write us an essay. Never read any of it.
No.
Sometimes I'd try and hope there's a movie
Yeah.
about,
There's a movie.
like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or something
Yeah.
like that. I'd go and watch the movie and
Yeah.
bluff my way through all the essays with that.
Yeah.
I wasn't the greatest student. I wasn't dumb.
Yeah.
I was more into sport than
And
school.
you're actually really good at it.
At
You know,
this,
you're very good at it because
thanks, I
you
hope
know
so.
how to you know how to forward a conversation. You
Yeah.
know how to pick up, and that's the best thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a gift not many people have.
yeah, good.
You know,
Well, I
it's
hope
a
you're
gift
right.
not many people
I
have.
love doing it. I really. I walked out the other night after the Gav, and that was a Zoom meeting. It wasn't
I
even face
remember
to
it was
face.
good. Yep.
I walked out and I looked at my wife and I felt, whoa, I've just done that.
You just
You
did
know,
that.
I'm thinking, shit, that was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll keep doing it as long as I can. And
Yeah. I'll tell you a story
Yeah,
before we go far. In Kenya, so I'm from Kenya.
Yep.
previously from Kenya. So not previously from Kenya. I'm from
Always
Kenya.
from
I'm
Kenya.
always from Kenya, right? Nah,
Yeah.
sometimes you know how I say at work.
Yeah.
I think I'm a white guy trapped in just African body because of this African
Yeah.
dust. But
Yep.
it's all good. But there's TV editor. So he was fired from one of the big national TVs, and he started a story of himself. And he said, "Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to start a channel for vernacular." So vernacular is like your language, a traditional
Yeah.
language. So a tribal radio station. And now he has 4. Just from that, it's actually one of the leading, channels in Kenya now.
Okay.
It's called. It's from Meru. So, but you see something like that. It's a belief. The fastest, I think he's one of the top-selling African soul musician. I was in the same school with him, and I remember during we had a cultural day, And he stood up and, you do your talent, and he started rapping and people were laughing at him. And I kid you not, I remember him saying, one day I will be great and you worship me. I always remember those words.
Wow.
Yeah,
And he was
he's
right.
from South Soul. He was right. They're one of Kenya's leading top musicians right now. And you look back and you see all these people's success, but their success didn't come from nowhere. It comes from belief.
Yeah.
Comes from, and also it's not just belief. It means also putting the effort in.
Yeah.
There's, as you probably in boxing would know, talent without discipline is dead.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know what I mean? So
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, look at Pink. Another quick story about Pink.
Yeah.
She was told when she was a 15, 16-year-old looking for a recording contract, she wrote a song about it.
Yeah.
About you're not going to make it. You haven't got the look. You don't look right. You don't sound right, and all this sort of stuff. And look at her now. She's probably the most, well, in my opinion, she's the best female artist on the planet.
of all time.
But yeah, you can't argue with that, can you? Just keep doing.
What's his name? Captain KFC guy.
KFC, Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, Sanders.
Yeah.
Colonel Sanders.
Yep.
How many times did he try and sell his recipe? I think it was like 900 and something times he tried to sell his recipe and no one would budge. And then
Look at it now.
And then the next person he went, I think it was the 1,000th person he went to ask. They accepted, and look at where KFC is now.
Yeah, right. Brings you back to the
It's just crazy.
brings you back to the Rocky Balboa. Doesn't it?
But I know. Then the last one is Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Oh,
He-
the shit! I've seen this.
Have
I
you
watched the
seen this?
movie.
Yeah, it's crazy what he
documentary.
went through, and
Yeah.
he's a goat, man. He's one of all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly right.
So it's not like people. You see all these successful people. They didn't just
Nah, it
shoot
doesn't
up
happen.
to success. They had their struggles as they went up.
Yeah.
It's just what you do with those struggles. You fall down,
Yeah.
you pick yourself up,
going.
you try again, keep going.
Exactly right.
I think now we've lost that. A lot of people have
Yeah.
lost that.
Yeah.
You get
I
beat
nearly,
down.
I nearly stopped doing this. I thought this is crap.
This crap. I'm not
You
gonna
know,
do this. Yeah.
my first podcast, the camera stopped recording.
Yeah.
So then I was stuck to the two other. It was just.
It's just
It was my
done-
first
that's
go.
me.
I could have chucked it and said, "This isn't
Yeah.
working. See you later. Bye bye." Good. I tried it. I've
Yeah.
done one podcast. Tick that box.
That's it.
Like you've wrote a book. Tick
Yeah,
the box.
doesn't work.
But I'm going to keep going.
Nah, you got
People,
to
there's
keep
particularly
going.
people like you.
Yeah.
And without the book, you've still got a story. Everybody's got a story.
Everyone's
as we
got a
said.
story,
And
mate.
I want to listen to them all.
Yeah, that's
Be
it.
great.
Yeah.
Well, mate, we might wrap it up there.
Thank you
It's
very much.
been brilliant. Thanks,
Oh,
mate.
It's been sorry, man. It's
Thank
been
you
a
very much for
pleasure.
coming.
No,
There's your
I'm
shirt.
very thankful.
Give them a quick look
The
at
merch.
handmade too. When
handmade merch.
when I make the big time, Fred, you just remember this was actually handmade before I sent it to the printers.
You know what I need to
made
do?
that
I'm
myself.
actually going to put that in my shrine,
Okay.
I was in a podcast.
in your pool room,
In
straight
the-
to
yeah,
the pool
in-
room. Yeah, good
That's it.
stuff.
My success tag, my successful.